Welcome to the Director's Spotlight for September 2nd, 2011. Welcome to the ASU School of Theater and Film. I'm the director, Jake Pinholster. This is my guest today is Marcelino Quinones.
Yes, good.
I think I got that right?
You got it.
Pretty close. Marcelino has a unique perspective on the School of Theater and Film because he's, so far, the only person who has completed both an undergraduate degree and entered a graduate program here. He's graduated from the BA program in '07 and has rejoined us this year in our MFA program in performance. And so I want to get a little bit of Marcelino's perspective on how ASU is different from a graduate point of view as opposed to an undergraduate point of view, and also get to know a little bit more about his perspective on the community in which ASU and the School of Theater and Film reside. Thank you, Marcelino, for being here.
Thanks for having me, Jake.
Appreciate it. So, any first impressions from grad school versus?
Well, I've been in the graduate school program for 3 weeks now. I'm teaching a class, which is a lot of fun, and thus far, I think the biggest change between graduate school and undergrad is the focus. And
right.
When I say focus, I mean that in terms of personally and also for the program. When I did my undergrad program, I took theater courses, but I had to fulfill other requirements, and oftentimes that becomes difficult. And you know that you're a theater artist, and you know that you're here to make art, but you also have other responsibilities that you don't really care about. For example, science homework or whatnot.
Right.
And so you're in the program and you're doing it and you're working, but you still have to keep track of all those things. And now in the graduate school program, it's all theater. It's all theater. I have it's performance, and then I have a class with the lovely and intelligent and wonderful Dr. Gita Honegger, and so, but it's all theater all the time.
Right.
And so, the focus is different. Now my mind is one track, and let's get straight to it. I think that's the same principle that we can apply to the theater department.
Right.
That's the biggest difference between my undergrad years and my graduate school years. I started here in 2002, and at the time we had an interim chair. And then it was followed by another chair who stayed her tenure, but nonetheless, and this is not to pluck any feathers, but just simply talking, the focus was also was always a little vague in terms of where we were going as a program and what we were doing, and that's not to say anything negatively. That's just to say that's what it was. It was a period of transition, similar to my undergrad years.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So now here I am as a graduate student, and going back to that focus that you have, and not because you're sitting across from me, but it's become very evident and very clear early on that Arizona State University, its theater program, its film program, has an identity and wants to get to a place, and so that's the focus I'm talking about.
I didn't pay him to say that.
He didn't.
But I agree. No, I really appreciate that, Marcelino. I'm hoping that that's a change that, and a lot of credit has to go to all the faculty of the unit, all the students of the unit, the Arizona State University in general for providing a place where that kind of innovation can happen, and specifically to Linda Essig and Guillermo Reyes, who were my two predecessors, who basically laid all the groundwork for this to happen. And I just happened to step in at kind of a lucky time.
No, and that's very humble of you to say, but also very true. Also very true. I think Chair Essing did an amazing job with getting the program in this shift. Behind us, we have a poster of Fidjanaya, which was the last production that I helped out in my
that's right
in my undergrad years, and that's from 2007. And so that work in itself was very progressive, was very innovative in terms of all the technology that was used, in terms of all the different types of acting that were used. And so that goes to her credit. She saw an opportunity and she took it. And then of course Guillermo Reyes, who just completed his tenure as chair, has set out a season that is completely alive, that is completely diverse, and that in many ways is historic. We're starting off with Zoot Suit, which is the emblem of Chicano theater, and so what a wonderful opportunity, and it goes to their work.
That's great. You spoke about focus, and focus in this particular program in grad school in general is usually coupled with rigor. That there's a greater sense of depth. The expectation that they're going to work you a lot harder.
Right.
And you have a child. You have a life here in Phoenix. How have you found balancing the work and family?
You know what, the one thing that you always have to keep in mind as an artist and as a human being is that there's balance.
Right.
There's balance, and so Mia Amor, my daughter, has a wonderful mother, and she spends half the time with me and half the time with her mother, and her mother has been very supportive, has been helpful, and so I don't have to worry about how my daughter is doing. I see my daughter every other day, and that's special too, because it gives me a distraction from everything that's going on.
Sure.
It gives
a place
me
to step out.
a place to step out, and a place to love.
Right.
Not that I don't love this place, but my daughter, of course, requires all that love, and
Sure.
she wants it, and so it's been a good adventure. I think it'll get even deeper and even more
Right.
interesting.
How do you feel your first impressions of your colleagues in the cohort? For those of you just sort of tuning in, so to speak, the graduate programs in performance design, and directing are all recruited once every 3 years as a group that for the whole time they're here, for 3 full years, has to act as essentially a family or an ensemble for
Absolutely.
producing work, new work, in the most rigorous of consensus devising processes. So it's the chemistry of that group is really important. How have you found your peers so far?
You know what? They didn't pay me to say this either.
They don't have any money. They're grad students.
They don't,
Yeah.
exactly. And I've been accused once or twice of being very diplomatic. That's not to say that I'm not honest, but as a person, I learned to look at all the positives. I'm an optimist, and we have a great cohort. I'm going to speak specifically about the other 7 performers who are in my program. They're diverse, they're energetic, and the one thing that I can honestly say is they're very, very caring. In 3 or 4 weeks of interacting and spending time together, there's already a depth of attention and a depth of affection that we feel towards each other.
Yeah, you guys have gotten quite close.
We
Pretty
have.
quick. Yeah.
You asked about my daughter and whatnot. During my undergrad years, I rarely went out. I went out to a party here and there, but in terms of like, oh, there's a theater activity going on where like this group of people are doing something, I was like, well, that's them. I'm gonna go home, do this, do that.
Sure.
And one of the things that I wanted to be careful of, and I'm being honest here, is I didn't want to come across as this arrogant person who was in the program and did the undergrad years and now wants to somehow consider himself this or that because they don't have that experience. And so I've been, I think, effective in that, in the sense that we've created a community, and we've celebrated birthdays outside of the university, outside of Tempe.
Sure.
And that's exciting because you get this family feel.
Yeah.
So
That's really great. I can't wait to see where you guys are 3 years from now. It's going to be amazing.
It'll be wonderful.
The last thing I'd love to talk about is you have been in Phoenix your whole life, yeah? Or
14 years.
14 years.
14 years.
But you've become incredibly embedded in the local art scene. I know you've worked professionally at several companies around here. You have a lot to say about Phoenix, and I think that and Phoenix has a lot that needs to be said about it. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a chance to tell if we're looking at an audience here of both current students, prospective students, community members, what you want people to know about the arts in Phoenix and about how they can affect how we live in Arizona.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. It's very exciting. It's very exciting. I think excitement is in the air. I think we've started it here at the program. I think you're leading that, and you're doing a wonderful job of directing that horse. But aside from that, there are other venues and other opportunities outside of the university. For example, 5 or 6 years ago, this idea of First Friday came about, where a bunch of people just go downtown and enjoy the art. Since then, there's a company, and I'm going to plug somebody, the ALAC organization, and ALAC stands for Arizona Latino Arts and Cultural Center. They've asked me to lead their First Fridays every month, and so I'm in charge of programming. It doesn't require a lot of time. It's more a matter of reaching out to old artist friends or making new contacts and asking them to go and present their work at First Friday.
Sure.
With that in mind, I believe that this, and I'm going to coin something right now, the arts revolution in Phoenix is started. This arts revolution. We've started this First Friday. ALAC is a specific place to feature different artists, to get the word out. And all those artists are interested in saying something about the community.
Right.
Because, of course, any art has to speak directly about its surrounding. And so you have a diverse group of artists, mostly Latino, yes, but other artists are also invited to go and participate. And as the person who's organizing their First Fridays, I, of course, have opened arms for the world and for different artists. And so I look to continue to plug these artists, and in that way create an even bigger relationship, an even bigger bridge between what is Tempe and ASU and downtown and Phoenix, and how we're both doing the exact same work, how we're both interested in growing, and how this arts revolution is going to fully explode.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's one of the things that's really critical for us at ASU over the next little while to really start to engage with is this idea that we have to be involved in Phoenix. I mean,
Absolutely.
It has to be about Phoenix and the 5 million person city that right now is so geographically spread out. It might as well be a series of 200,000 person towns.
Jake,
it really needs to be. We need to be one big community.
Absolutely, and you've worked in New York, and the first thing that I noticed upon coming back from my first trip there was like, whoa, if I want to do something, I have to drive here, I have to drive there. Whereas New York, I mean, everything is just popping. It's just like, it's like a juice, and you can just drink it all up. And that's the one thing that we need to do. I think the light rail, now that we're talking socially, I think the addition of the light rail is a great plug, and it's also connected from Tempe, ASU, to the downtown campus.
Exactly.
And so this relationship, this bridge between the city, our capital, Phoenix, and Arizona State University, the best university in the state, the one that's more progressive, the one that's more open, and quite frankly, the most diverse one.
Yes.
We're right in the center. We're right in the mecca of diversity.
Great.
So,
thank you so much, Marcelino. Does ALAC have a website or something people should go to?
hey, look at you, ALAC. You can check.
I'll put it on there too.
You put it on there, wonderful. You can check out ALAC at alacaz.org, and ALAC is ALAC. Excuse me, ALACAZ.org, and you can check us out there.
Great, Marcelino. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you, Jake.
Appreciate it.
All right.
We'll see you next week on the Director Spotlight. Make sure to tune back in on YouTube, Vimeo, and on the About section of the School Theater and Film website. Thanks very much. Have a good week.